On the surface, the library in rural Deming, Washington isn't unlike any other small-town library in the United States.
The thing that we all remember about the Deming Library is the chickens that walk through the parking lot, because the neighbors have chickens, free-range chickens, and so it's a classic example of a rural American small-town library.
In June of 2004, the nation was still recovering from the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001. In the wake of the tragedy, the United States government took unprecedented steps to prevent future attacks. Virtually no lead was too small to investigate.
Well, I think it was a Tuesday afternoon, and I was working at the front counter, and this gentleman came up to the front desk and explained to me that he was with the FBI and that they would like information on who had checked out this book. It was a biography of Osama bin Laden. And I remember my first thought was, oh my, this is the situation we've been trained for.
The Deming branch was one of 9 libraries in the Whatcom County library system, and the library's refusal to comply with the FBI's records request was not a spur-of-the-moment decision.
Library did several things before the real story began. One thing it did was to reinforce the American Library Association's declaration that all people have the right to read what they please, to choose whatever they wish to choose, and that those choices would be confidential. All library staff were given training on what they should do if by chance there was a request for records.
I guess it was Joan that told the agent that the library doesn't give information, any information, without a subpoena or court order.
Our library people expect us to uphold their trust. I mean, that's part of the reputation of a public library.
The issue that got the FBI's attention, someone had written in the margins, if the things I'm doing is considered a crime, then let history be a witness that I am a criminal. Hostility towards America is a religious duty, and we hope to be rewarded by God.
It is a sobering quote, and I can understand how, especially given that time period in history, that someone would be, kind of taken aback by reading that in a library book.
Though the quote was disconcerting, a bit of quick research revealed that it was actually copied from another source.
I Googled the quote, and it brought me immediately to an interview with Osama bin Laden, and the quote in the interview was the exact same quote that was in the book. So I figured whoever wrote it in the book had read it on the website, and it sounded to me like somebody writing a term paper.
Even after being informed about the source of the quote, the FBI was undeterred. The FBI issued a subpoena for the library's records, and the Whatcom County Library Board called a special session to discuss the situation.
We talked through the consequences of what might happen. We talked about costs to the library system, but we even talked about whether or not we would go to jail over this issue, and that we felt pretty steadfast that we would do anything we had to do to stop this.
In our case, the law provided for a hearing because it was a grand jury subpoena.
The grand jury subpoena gave the library system the ability to fight the case in court. The library board had agreed to keep the situation confidential while the proceedings played out.
It was a hard time. Felt like waiting for a shoe to drop.
Everything was kind of surreal. Can't talk to anybody else, and we're just trying to make this thing proper.
The days and weeks passed slowly, but good news came just over a month later. With the library board standing firm to protect their patrons' privacy, the FBI decided to drop the subpoena and closed the book on the case.
I had asked that the subpoena be quashed unless the FBI could show some imminent harm, and they didn't.
As quickly as it had begun, the battle was over, but the story wouldn't stay quiet forever.
Joan and I were both asked to talk on this panel at Banned Books Week, which is a yearly event at this local bookstore, Village Books, and we agreed that this would be a good time to tell our story.
The FBI asked us for the names of all persons who had checked the book out. That crossed a line set by Washington state statute.
There was a student reporter from the Western Front at Western Washington University there that night, and that student wrote up our story from Deming, and it got caught by the AP's wires, and the story exploded.
The tale of the small-town library that took a stand for citizens' privacy struck a chord with people nationwide.
We were getting emails from all over the country. This came from a man in Denver, Colorado. Only in rural America can one still find feisty little stink bugs that don't play well with Big Brother? We found a picture of a stink bug on the internet, and we all wore feisty little stink bug buttons for a while.
Praise came in the form of more than just letters. The library's Board of Trustees was soon presented with the 2004 Robert B. Downes Intellectual Freedom Award for their actions. Library Director Joan Aroldi was also selected to receive the 2005 Penn Newman's Own First Amendment Award.
I didn't feel at all that it was a personal award because the library board was absolutely essential in making the decisions that they did.
The Penn Newman Award came along with an added bonus, a check for the amount of $25,000.
When this check came for the $25,000, it was determined that it would be an opportunity to start a foundation.
A dream of hers and of the library system and of the library board that would have been very difficult to start without that $25,000 came into being.
Whatever the future may bring, the Library Foundation will continue to build upon the passion and dedication of its founding members.
For those of us who were involved in that process in 2004, it was a hard time when all of a sudden you had to put into action what you had intellectually said you believed in.
It was just a time of trying to do everything right. And looking back on it, I wouldn't change anything about what happened.
It is a joy to me that out of that hard time, something as good as the foundation has come.
Libraries are critical to the well-being of our community, and sustaining a vibrant library system requires ongoing public support. The Whatcom County Library Foundation invites you to be a part of this process by volunteering to serve on the Foundation Board, by joining your local library's Friends group, or through your much-appreciated financial support. Every contribution makes a difference, because Whatcom County Libraries are the best place to begin. To learn more about supporting Whatcom County Libraries, visit wcls.org/foundation.